With the recent launch of Diablo Immortal, many of our worst fears were realized when the predatory practices of the games were uncovered. It's been calculated by people that you can spend over 100 grand just maxing out one of your characters. I don't like nonsense like this, and I'm sure you don't either. That's why we're looking at 3 great alternatives that you can play on the go on the Steam Deck to Diablo Immortal. In addition to this, a lot of the games I'm talking about today are cheap and can be found for a low cost. The first game on the list is Torchlight 2, created by Runic Games. Members of the team that made Torchlight 2 actually came from Blizzard North and worked on older Diablo games. Torchlight has a great art style and some awesome music. There is a more recent entry, Torchlight 3 also, but that game is not as well received, so I'd recommend just sticking to Torchlight 2. Torchlight 2 is from 2012 and features 4 classes, multiplayer, and mod support, which should all work on the Steam Deck. The game doesn't have controller support by default, but Runic Games has an official layout for the Steam Deck that should load up right away and works quite well. I have some gameplay here with me using the game, and it's interesting. Some of the skills are mapped to the right touchpad, and it's split into quarters, so it's like there's 4 buttons there. It works pretty well. In the gameplay I have here, I'm using the Outlander class. It's like a gunner class. I use this class because I figured it'd be a little harder to control, but it actually plays just fine on the Steam Deck. This game is well received by fans and has a very positive rating on Steam. The game has a base price of $20, but often goes on sale for much cheaper than that and can even be found for free on the Epic Store occasionally. Performance-wise, the game runs pretty well on the Steam Deck. You can see the graph here with all the stats, but you can see one CPU thread has been hit really hard by the game. Because of this, consider locking the frame rate down to around 40 FPS, which will also improve your Steam Deck's battery life. Next up on the list is a game I've sunk dozens of hours into and really enjoy. It's Grim Dawn. This game has a grittier aesthetic than Torchlight 2, but it's still a blast to play. My favorite thing about Grim Dawn is the ability to customize your build greatly. Classes in Grim Dawn are called masteries, and there are 10 of them. Each of them is quite unique. Now the best part about this is when you reach level 10 in the game, you're allowed to pick a second mastery that you can also put points into and receive skills from. Because of this system, there's a ton of room to play around with different playstyles and builds. My character I'm showing here is an Oppressor, which is a mix between an Oathkeeper and a Necromancer. Grim Dawn also features multiplayer, and I spent all my time playing this game with my girlfriend. Games like this just are better when you play with others. As far as controls go, this game has better native controller support than Torchlight 2. In addition to this, being able to use the trackpad as a mouse is really nice for things like inventory management. With my melee class here, I wasn't having any problems playing this game on the Steam Deck. Performance-wise, the game runs pretty well here. I have the settings turned up really high, so I'm not quite locked to 60 FPS, but if you drop them just a bit, I'm sure you should lock 60 FPS no problem. Grim Dawn has a base price of $25 and also features some DLC expansions that might be worth looking into. The game also frequently goes on sale and is rated very positive on Steam. I really highly recommend you check this one out. One last note I want to make here is that Grim Dawn has certain aspects of the game that are cut off by the screen size. I think the resolution of the Steam Deck is a little bit too low for the game to fully use it, so there's a little bit of clipping, but I'll put up an image here and it's not too bad, nothing that's game breaking, so you can get around it, and hopefully the developers update the game for the Steam Deck so it works completely fine, doesn't have this issue. The final game on this list is one that has received a ton of support over the years, and it's Path of Exile. Path of Exile is a free-to-play game, and I haven't played much of this one, but I've heard it can be a serious time commitment. I've considered jumping into this game, but I'm waiting for Path of Exile 2 to drop to jump in. There's a large community around this game, so if you want to get into it, I'd really recommend doing some research online, as I'm not the most knowledgeable about it. Now, despite being a free-to-play game, this game holds a very positive rating on Steam, which is much better than Diablo Immortal can say. Path of Exile has full controller support and works great on the Steam Deck. The biggest issue you might run into here is small text. Luckily, the Steam Deck has a built-in magnifier for cases just like this. Out of all the games we've covered today, Path of Exile definitely has the best controller support, and because of this, it goes a long way in making it feel really nice to play on the Steam Deck. Performance-wise, this game runs good on the Steam Deck too. I have it set to the Vulkan renderer here, and all the settings are basically turned up, and I'm hitting 60 FPS very consistently. The worst drop I saw was in town, where the game dropped below that, but if you want to, just drop the settings a bit, and if you want to save battery, also just go ahead and lock your Steam Deck to a lower frame rate. Gameplay-wise, I haven't spent much time with this title. There are some interesting systems at work here. Skills are equipped by using gemstones that you slot into your items, which is different than a lot of games like this, where you would unlock them using skill points. There are still skill points, but I think it's for more passive abilities and such. If you want a better look at the gameplay, definitely jump online and check some stuff out. But just from the little bit I played here today, I really want to get back into this game and experience more of it. It's a blast. One last thing to keep in mind is that this is a free-to-play game, and because of that, there are microtransactions in play here. But like I mentioned earlier, the ratings on Steam are extremely high, so I think that they aren't too egregious, but do some research. It's hard to imagine that there'd be anything worse than the ones in Diablo Immortal. Overall, these 3 games are great to play on the Steam Deck if you want to take your hack and slash RPGs on the go, but they also play great on a desktop PC. Thanks for watching this video. Here at the Steel Lodge, I make a lot of other gaming content, most of it Steam Deck related so far, so consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing. Have a good one.